What if I told you that something sitting in the produce section of your local grocery store, something most men walk right past without a second thought, has been shown in clinical research to support a nearly 50% increase in testosterone levels, no injections, no prescriptions, no expensive supplements with a list of ingredients you can't pronounce. Just one fruit. And the science behind it is genuinely fascinating. Now, before we get into what this fruit is and exactly why it works, I need you to understand something first, because the fruit itself is only part of the story. What really matters is why testosterone declines in the first place, what's actually happening inside the body when it does, and why most men are unknowingly making that decline worse every single day without realizing it. Once you understand the biology, the solution makes complete sense, and it goes far beyond just eating one fruit. I'm Dr. Narita, and I've spent 12 years in medicine working with men on exactly these kinds of questions: hormonal health, vitality, energy, and the things that quietly erode quality of life as men age. Today, I want to give you a complete, honest picture of what's going on and what you can actually do about it. If you're new to this channel, welcome. We have real conversations about men's health here. No hype, no shortcuts, just the truth backed by science. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming. And right now, drop a comment and tell me where in the world you're watching from. I genuinely love hearing from this community. Let's get into it. Here's the story most men have been told about testosterone. It peaks in your 20s, declines gradually from your 30s onward, and by the time you're 50 or 60, the drop is just something you accept. Fatigue is normal. Reduced drive is normal. Loss of muscle, accumulation of belly fat, mood changes, lower motivation, all just part of getting older. Nothing to be done. That story is incomplete, and in some ways, it's genuinely harmful. Yes, testosterone does decline with age. That part is true. After about 30, levels drop at roughly 1 to 2% per year on average. By 60, many men are operating at testosterone levels significantly lower than their younger selves. But here is what that narrative leaves out entirely. The rate of that decline and how severely it affects you is not fixed. It is not purely genetic fate. It is powerfully influenced by lifestyle, nutrition, sleep, stress, body composition, and yes, specific compounds found in certain foods. Men who optimize these factors consistently maintain meaningfully higher testosterone levels than men who don't, even at the same age. In other words, a significant portion of the testosterone decline that men experience is not inevitable aging. It is an accelerated decline driven by modifiable factors that nobody ever pointed out to them. That is the conversation I want to have today. Let me walk you through what's actually happening, because understanding the mechanism is what makes all of this actionable. Testosterone is produced primarily in the testes in response to signals from the brain, specifically a cascade that starts in the hypothalamus, moves to the pituitary gland, and then reaches the testes. This is called the HPT axis, the hypothalamic pituitary testicular axis. When it's functioning well, the body produces adequate testosterone consistently. But several things can disrupt this cascade. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, and cortisol is directly antagonistic to testosterone. When cortisol is chronically elevated, the body essentially prioritizes its stress response over its reproductive and anabolic hormone production. Testosterone gets deprioritized at the biological level. Excess body fat, particularly visceral fat around the abdomen, contains an enzyme called aromatase. Aromatase converts testosterone into estrogen. So higher body fat doesn't just make you feel heavier, it is actively converting your testosterone into estrogen at a biochemical level, creating a cycle that becomes harder to break the longer it continues. Poor sleep is another major driver. The majority of testosterone production occurs during deep sleep, specifically during REM cycles. Men who consistently get poor or insufficient sleep show measurably lower testosterone levels, sometimes dramatically so, within just a week of disrupted sleep patterns. And then there's oxidative stress and inflammation. The cumulative cellular damage from a diet high in processed foods, environmental toxins, and insufficient antioxidant intake. This kind of chronic low-grade inflammation impairs the Leydig cells in the testes, the cells directly responsible for producing testosterone, reducing their output over time. Understanding all of this is important because it means that when we talk about a fruit supporting testosterone, we're not talking about magic. We're about specific compounds that address one or more of these biological pathways. And that is a very different, much more credible conversation. So the fruit, the research that generated headlines about a nearly 50% increase in testosterone points to the pomegranate. And before you dismiss that as too simple, let me tell you exactly why the science makes biological sense. Pomegranate is extraordinarily rich in polyphenols, specifically punocollagens and ellagic acid that are among the most potent antioxidant compounds found in any food. When these compounds are consumed and metabolized, they do something very specific. They significantly reduce oxidative stress in the body, including in the testicular tissue where light cells produce testosterone. A study published in a peer-reviewed endocrinology journal found that men who consumed pomegranate juice daily for a period of weeks showed testosterone increases averaging around 48%. Salivary testosterone, a reliable marker of free testosterone levels, was the measurement used. Additionally, the participants showed improvements in mood, reduced blood pressure, and improvements in markers of vascular health. Now, I want to be honest with you here because that is what this channel is about. A single study is not the final word on anything. The pomegranate research is genuinely promising and biologically plausible, but it works best as part of a broader approach. The men who saw the most significant results were not relying on pomegranate alone. They were providing their bodies with the full complement of conditions that allow testosterone production to flourish. Which brings me to the rest of what I want to cover today. The first factor is chronic stress and cortisol. This is the single most underestimated driver of low testosterone in men over 50. And I say that with complete conviction after 12 years of clinical observation. Cortisol and testosterone exist in a biological seesaw relationship. When one rises consistently, the other falls. And the modern life of a man in his 50s or 60s, financial pressure, family responsibility, health anxiety, disrupted sleep, constant digital stimulation creates a hormonal environment that is chronically tilted toward cortisol. The practical implication is this: if you are chronically stressed and you are not actively doing something about it, no fruit, no supplement, no dietary change will fully compensate. Managing cortisol is not optional if testosterone optimization is the goal. What actually works is daily physical activity, deliberate breathing practices, time in nature, reducing unnecessary sources of chronic stress, and critically protecting your sleep. These are not soft lifestyle suggestions. They are direct hormonal interventions. The second factor is body composition and visceral fat. I mentioned aromatase earlier, the enzyme in body fat that converts testosterone to estrogen. And I want to be very clear, this is not a small effect. In men who carry significant visceral fat, aromatase activity can be meaningfully suppressing testosterone in real time. The good news, and this is genuinely encouraging, is that the relationship works in reverse too. When visceral fat decreases, aromatase activity decreases, and testosterone levels respond. Men who lose meaningful amounts of abdominal fat almost always see testosterone rise as a direct result. You don't need to become an athlete. You need consistent progressive movement, particularly resistance training, which builds metabolically active muscle tissue that independently supports hormonal health, combined with a diet that reduces the metabolic conditions driving fat storage. The third factor is sleep quality. I cannot overstate how important this one is, and I wish it received more attention in the testosterone conversation. The research is unambiguous. Men who sleep fewer than 6 hours a night show testosterone levels equivalent to men 10 years older. That is not a minor statistical difference. That is a decade of hormonal aging compressed into a chronic sleep habit. Deep sleep, the slow wave and REM phases, is when the pituitary gland releases the hormonal signals that drive overnight testosterone production. Disrupt that architecture consistently, and you are chronically suppressing your own hormone production during the window when your body is most capable of it. Prioritizing sleep is not laziness. For a man whose testosterone matters to him, it is one of the highest leverage things he can do. The fourth factor is micronutrient status. Two micronutrients show up consistently in the testosterone research with compelling evidence behind them: zinc and vitamin D. Zinc is essential for the function of the HPT axis, the hormonal cascade I described earlier. It's also involved in limiting aromatase activity. Men who are zinc deficient show significantly lower testosterone, and supplementing in deficient men produces meaningful improvements. Vitamin D functions less like a vitamin and more like a hormone in the body. Vitamin D receptors are present in the Leydig cells of the testes. Deficiency is extraordinarily common in men over 50, particularly in regions with limited sunlight, and it correlates strongly with lower testosterone. Getting your levels checked and addressing deficiencies is low cost, low risk, and can make a meaningful difference. The fifth factor is dietary antioxidant intake, and this is where the pomegranate connects back into the full picture. The Leydig cells that produce testosterone are particularly vulnerable to oxidative damage. A diet consistently low in antioxidants, high in processed foods, low in colorful whole foods, creates a cellular environment in which testosterone production is chronically impaired at the source. Pomegranate is an exceptionally rich source of the specific polyphenols that reduce this oxidative burden, but it sits alongside a broader dietary pattern that supports hormonal health: colorful vegetables, berries, olive oil, nuts, oily fish, and minimizing ultra-processed food and excess alcohol, both of which independently suppress testosterone. The fruit is real. The science is real, but it works best when the rest of the environment supports it. Let me make this practical. Start with pomegranate, either the whole fruit or a small glass of pure, unsweetened pomegranate juice daily. Morning is ideal when absorption is most efficient and the antioxidant compounds can work through the day. Get your vitamin D and zinc levels checked at your next blood test. If you're deficient, and a significant proportion of men over 50 are, address it with targeted supplementation under your doctor's guidance. Prioritize resistance training at least 2 to 3 times per week. You do not need to lift heavy weights. You need to challenge your muscles progressively. That stimulus drives testosterone and growth hormones independent of everything else. Protect your sleep. Set a consistent bedtime. Reduce screen exposure in the hour before bed. Make your bedroom cool and dark. If you suspect sleep apnea, snoring, waking, unrefreshed, daytime fatigue, please get it assessed. It is one of the most significant and treatable suppressors of testosterone in men over 50. And take your stress seriously as a hormonal issue, not just an emotional one. Build something into your day, even 15 minutes, that genuinely down-regulates your nervous system. I want to speak to you directly for a moment. If your energy has dropped, if your drive has faded, if the version of yourself that felt capable and vital seems like it belongs to a different chapter, please hear this. That change is not permanent. It is not simply the price of aging. In many cases, it is the result of specific, identifiable, correctable factors that nobody has ever sat down and explained to you clearly. You are not past your best years. You are potentially operating at a fraction of your biological capability because the conditions that support your hormonal health have been gradually eroding and nobody handed you the manual. This video is part of that manual. Testosterone is not just about physical performance. It is about energy, about clarity, about the quiet confidence that comes from feeling like yourself, about waking up with something in the tank, about being present in your own life in a way that matters. That is available to you, not through shortcuts, but through the consistent application of what the science actually shows. Start with the pomegranate. Add it to what you're already eating. But don't stop there. Look at the full picture. The sleep, the stress, the movement, the micronutrients. Make one change this week, then another. Build an environment that allows your body to do what it was designed to do. If this video gave you something useful today, please hit the like button and share it with a man who needs to hear this. Subscribe if you're not already here. We do this every single week. And drop a comment right now. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me which part of this landed for you. I read everyone. I'm Dr. Narita. Your vitality is not behind you. It's waiting for the right conditions. Go create them.